Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. The federal government announced more than $1 billion will go to drug treatment support for Canadians who suffer from rare diseases. The Alberta government says more funding will be coming to help families overcome the financial challenges of adopting. And a rally took place at Extended Care in Lethbridge by union members demanding better pay for workers.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Federal Health Minister Jean-Yves Duclos says Ottawa will commit to spending up to $1.5 billion over the next 3 years to improve access to drugs used to treat rare diseases. According to the Canadian Organization for Rare Diseases affects 1 in 12 Canadians, with 2/3 of them being children.
The national strategy will increase and harmonize coverage for existing drugs. It will add coverage to emerging and new drugs. It will increase and speed up the availability of important diagnostics, especially for children. It will invest in research for new drugs. It will support clinical trials. It will better share information on the efficacy of drugs and treatments. And it will be supported, and that's important, by the voices and experiences of patients and all of those who care for them.
Minister Duclos says there are between 1 to 3 million Canadians who suffer from a very rare disease. The federal government says it's committed to helping the people of Haiti during its current crisis, a situation where many cities appear to be overrun by crime and gang violence. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly was asked if Canada would even go as far as to send troops into Haiti.
What we've said is that we would be helping Haitians to find solutions by themselves. And what I mean by that is particularly helping the Haitian National Police to deal with the gangs that have taken control of the island. We know that what is happening in Haiti is extremely difficult. There's been lots of innocent civilians that have been the target of gangs. We've seen lots of casualties over the past weeks. And obviously, we need to make sure that we do even more. That's why we will be talking indeed about the situation in Haiti with the American administration. That's why also the Prime Minister was in the region a month ago to talk about this with all the CARICOM leaders. So definitely Canada will be playing a role to help Haiti.
Experts on terrorism gathered on Parliament Hill to discuss the 2023 Global Terrorism Index. It's a report produced by the Institute for Economics and Peace to look at key global trends and patterns in terrorism. The executive director for the Montreal Institute for Genocide and Human Rights Studies says terrorism rates continue to climb all around the world.
We see terrorism continue to impact countries that are friends and allies of Canada. We've seen parts of the Sahel in Africa see violence by groups like Boko Haram, other extremist groups targeting Mali, Burkina Faso, and even a growth into other parts of Africa like the Congo, as well as Mozambique. So the issue of countering terrorism is not just a national issue for Canada, it also touches our foreign policy, it touches our human rights responsibilities, and it means it's also an important aspect that we need to keep an eye on globally and see if Canadians are involving and traveling abroad. It's not just a domestic issue, it's multinational and it's transnational.
Federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says the Trudeau Liberals have really dropped the ball when it comes to helping more Canadians afford a home. Poilievre says under the leadership of Justin Trudeau, mortgage rates have continued to go through the roof.
He promised in 2015, and I quote, "We will make it easier for Canadians to find an affordable place to call home." When he made that promise, the average monthly payment for a mortgage in Canada was a modest $1,400. What is it today?
We have stepped up with housing programs in big cities like Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, but we've also stepped up in smaller municipalities and rural areas across the country that need supports in housing. Unlike the previous Conservative government that didn't feel the federal government had any role to play in housing, we stepped up in tangible, concrete ways to deliver more housing, to deliver rapid housing, to deliver programs that fought homelessness, programs that increase the rental stocks.
He would have you believe that Canadians have never had it so good. Well, ask the 9 and 10 young people who believe they will never own a home, the 35-year-olds living in their parents' basements because they can't afford the new doubling of the average down payment, mortgage payment, or rental costs. And speaking of paychecks, when he took office, the average paycheck, you only needed 39% of the average paycheck to make monthly payments on the average house. That number has risen to 62%.
China offered no comment on Thursday when asked about ongoing allegations of Beijing interfering with our federal elections. This comes after Liberal backbencher Han Dong announced that he was stepping down from the Liberal caucus after reports said the Toronto MP willingly received electoral support through Chinese officials. The report also said that Dong allegedly told Beijing to not release the 2 Canadian Michaels, Spavor and Kovrig, being held in captivity in China until it was more beneficial for the Trudeau Liberals.
Media reports today quoting unverified and anonymous sources have attacked my reputation and called into questions my loyalty to Canada. Let me be clear. What has been reported is false, and I will defend myself against these absolutely untrue claims. But let me assure you, as a parliamentarian and as a person, I have never, and I will never, would never advocate or support the violation of the basic human rights of any Canadian, of anyone, anywhere, period.
When asked about Don's resignation, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said the Canadian side may be in a better position to comment. A spokesperson said China opposed interference in other countries' internal affairs. Well, we enjoyed another beautiful spring day here in Lethbridge, and the warmer temperature should be sticking around for a little while longer. Jeanette Rocher is in now with an early look at the forecast. Jeanette, it was a nice day to take a walk down by the river at Indian Battle Park in Lethbridge. Did we reach double digits?
Yeah, hell, we did it. We finally reached those double-digit temperatures, reaching just shy of our 11-degree high today. Cardston, by the way, the hot spot in Alberta this afternoon, reaching just over 11 degrees. Today was certainly our warm one. After this, we're going to see a little bit cooler temperatures again, still in that average high range for this time of year, but only a high of 4 degrees on Friday. Into this evening, looking at an overnight low of -1. Couple that with a 30 to 50K wind, this 30K wind sticking around tomorrow morning, but should die down by the afternoon. And then for the weekend, we're going to see a little bit cooler temperatures. Could even see some minuses on the way. I'll give you all those details coming up later on in the show. Hal?
Great. Thanks so much, Jeanette. The province announced that more investments will be made to make adoption more affordable for Albertans. Children's Services Minister Mickey Amory says $4 million will be spent over the next few years to reduce financial barriers to adoption.
Our government will be lowering the cost of pressures on current and prospective adoptive families in 3 distinct ways. First, we will make the system more equitable, and we will subsidize the cost of private adoptions through licensed agencies in Alberta by providing a one-time $6,000 payment to parents looking to adopt. Starting this fall, this subsidy will be available to families earning less than $180,000 per year.
A Thursday rally outside of the Extended Care Fairmont Park Seniors Facility here in Lethbridge saw around 40 members from the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees demanding better pay for workers. As BCN's Angela Stewart explains now, AUPE says employees have been without a collective agreement for quite some time and hope the company can come to the table with a reasonable offer.
Members from Alberta's largest union sector picketing outside the Extendicare Fairmont Park building Thursday, raising their voices whilst holding signs demanding better pay for workers.
We're out here to demand respect.
Alberta Union of Provincial Employees say the workers have not had a collective agreement for almost 6 years, and negotiations in 2020 and 2021 fell short.
They came to us with 0% for wages. We're just trying to get Extendicare to come to the bargaining table with a reasonable offer. It's just that type of disrespect at the bargaining table that's going on.
The union, which represents about 1,500 members, is concerned about how this will affect residents who live at the facility.
The residents that, pay for care here, aren't getting the proper care. Extended care is struggling to get staff, struggling to keep staff.
In a statement to Bridge City News, Extended Care says they hold the collective bargaining process and their relationship with AUPE in the highest regard. Reading in part, we have been bargaining and are continuing to negotiate with AUPE and continue to work diligently to achieve an agreement. AUPE says they are hoping the employer will come back with an appropriate offer, which would include things like language improvements and wage settlements.
Well, the next steps moving forward, if we don't hear from Extended Care, we are going to, continue to rally. We're going to continue to raise these issues. We're going to continue to put the pressure on them and shame them into coming to the bargaining table.
For Bridge City News, I'm Angela Stewart.
A drug investigation involving Calgary Police, the RCMP, and Canada Border Services Agency resulted in charges being laid against a Calgary man in connection with a drug importation scheme worth $3.6 million. On February 19th, officers with the Canada Border Services Agency discovered and seized around 300 kilograms of methamphetamine from a commercial transport vehicle at the Coots border crossing. The drugs were allegedly hidden in boxes in the back of the truck. 49-year-old Paramijit Leroy of Calgary faces a long list of charges, including drug smuggling and drug trafficking. He appeared in Lethbridge court on Thursday to answer to those charges. More than 2 kilograms worth of cocaine were seized following a large drug bust in Edmonton. Alert says on February 23rd, following a 5-month investigation, 4 homes were raided in the city. Police not only confiscated 2.6 kilograms of cocaine, but also 28 grams of methamphetamine, 10 kilograms of a cocaine buffing agent, $11,000 in cash, and 4 vehicles. Alert and Edmonton police say several suspects have been identified and charges are pending. The investigation continues. Health Canada announced that they have seized a number of supplements from the Lethbridge Supplements and Vitamins store. The items were declared to be dangerous and may pose serious health risks to anyone who uses them. There were a wide variety of supplements that were seized, including the 5150 Stim Crazy Pre-Workout and Iron Brothers Supplements Thermoburn. Now, Bridge City News reached out to the staff from Lethbridge Supplements and Vitamins, but they've yet to hear back. The full list of supplements seized can be found on our website, bridgecitynews.ca. Arm wrestling is a sport that appears to be growing in popularity, including right here in our city. Lethbridge is set to host the Provincial Arm Wrestling Championships in May to showcase the strongest arm wrestlers from across the province. The top arm wrestlers will also vie for a spot at the Nationals in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia later this year. Video journalist Micah Quinn caught up with members from the Lethbridge Arm Wrestling Club to talk about some of the best techniques used to ensure victory.
Lethbridge Arm Wrestling Club members Mike Schaff and Byron Cahoon told us there are quite a few main techniques for arm wrestling, including top rolling and staying safer to the outside, where you don't put your body into the pull quite as much, as well as inside pulling, which is a more dangerous style of arm wrestling.
When you come to the club, we'll hook up with you and we'll try and guide you in the way that we feel your strengths are just naturally. And most times it's always outside because it's less chance for injury and stuff like that, and we want to have you come back rather than not.
The Provincial Arm Wrestling Championships will take place at the Sandman Hotel in Lethbridge on May 27th at 12 p.m. There will be a chance for men, women, and youth to compete during the event. There are currently around 25 members in the Lethbridge Arm Wrestling Club. There's also a special friendship among members of the group.
Being at an event with, 200 competitors, ages 0 to 60 or 80, there's definitely that family circle where you might be arm wrestling and you've got your kids with you. Somebody's got to, maybe step up and help you out, whether it's your own club or other clubs in the country that are willing to help you with your family at any moment.
For Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
That's a lot of power there. Applications are now being accepted for Lethbridge County's annual bursary program. Up to 3 students are eligible to receive $1,500 each for their first year of post-secondary studies. Lethbridge County Reeve Tori Campbell says it's encouraging to see the amount of interest from students who apply for the program.
I think it's something that had been kicked around in the past. In various iterations, there was different bursaries programs available, and like I said, for the last 4 years, this is the format that the county has gone with. It's been well received, and each year we've seen an increased uptake in interest and more applications every year. So after some discussion in council chambers, it was the decision of council to expand it a little further, add that additional to go to 3 bursaries, and then again up that dollar amount to $1,500 each.
The application deadline is June the 1st, and the awards will be dished out at the end of August. Thursday was National Puppy Day, a chance to pamper our special four-legged friends. It was also an opportunity for scammers to take advantage of people who are looking to purchase a precious pooch. Now, that's according to the staff from the Better Business Bureau serving southern Alberta. A spokesperson with the group says even though puppy scams have slipped from their peak during the pandemic, they still hear from people who say they've been victims to this online fraud.
Since 2017, the median loss in cash is actually around $850. For some people, it ends up translating to about, for thousands of dollars, actually. So that's why we want to bring attention to this and really bring attention to just anytime people are shopping or purchasing something online to use good habits, which include doing your research, checking with friends and family, what was their experience, getting references in relation to a puppy, actually visiting the breeder if you can. Again, making sure they have all their licenses and they're reputable, people.
Staff from the BBB say the scam involves a website showcasing a puppy that doesn't even exist. The money's then sent by the victim, including a deposit, and then you'll never see the funds ever again. If you want to report a scam, you can visit the BBB's Scam Tracker website. Many Canadians would say that celebrating creativity is the key to living a healthier and happier life. Suzanne Lent, Executive Director of the Allied Arts Council in Lethbridge, says art is a great way to unite a community.
Creativity is intrinsic in human beings, so whether we identify that creativity with sort of the traditional fine arts, it is really all-encompassing. And I think they are a bridge. They're a bridge between people because all cultures experience art. They're just so intrinsic to who we are. And unfortunately, I think that a lot of times we don't recognize their value and the power they have on us. And the power they have to do good things in community.
Make sure you catch the full colorful interview with the Allied Arts Council, Suzanne Lent, and BCN's Jeanette Rocher coming up after Business News. Well, it was another beautiful day across much of southwestern Alberta, and the warmer temperatures will be sticking around until at least the weekend. Complete weather details are coming up. It was great to see so much of the snow melt here in Lethbridge. It was also great to see more of the skateboards and longboards coming out. Jeanette Rocher is now with all of the weather details. Jeanette, have we been above our average high for this time of year?
Today, definitely, yes, Hal. Our average high for this time of year is actually 7.3 degrees. We reached almost our expected high today. We were just shy of it. So we were in the double digits. After this, we are going to drop a little bit more, seeing only a high of 4 degrees tomorrow. On Saturday, high of 5, and then we're going to reach those minuses for both Sunday and Monday, looking at mainly cloudy skies on Sunday, high of only -2, -1 the high for Monday with sunshine. And then we get back into the pluses, 3 degrees and up to 6 degrees on Wednesday. So as I was saying, the average high for this time of year, 7 degrees, -5 the average low. 22 was our high temperature on this day back in 1939. And in 1965 was the chilliest, -25. 7:28, that is when the sun rose this morning. Our sun set this evening, 7:47 p.m. So we are now at 12 hours and 19 minutes of daylight. Loving it. Okay, on the west coast tomorrow, seeing a little bit of a rainy one, 30% chance of showers in Victoria, high of 10 degrees, could see 60K winds on the Juan de Fuca Strait. Up to 9 degrees in Vancouver tomorrow, 30% chance of showers, 60% chance of flurries in Edmonton, high of 0. And in Calgary, going to see a 30% chance of flurries. -2 is the high there. Over in the prairies, not as much for the snowfall, but mostly clouds. We're looking at increasing clouds in Saskatoon tomorrow, high of -5, -3 the high for Regina. Also seeing some increasing clouds in the afternoon, sunshine in the morning in Winnipeg. Could see a bit of a partly cloudy sky towards the end of the day there in Winnipeg, high of 0. Still looking at those wind chill values as well on the prairies. Sunshine in Toronto tomorrow, 8 degrees the expected high of 3 degrees tomorrow in Ottawa. Ottawa looking at a 30% chance of flurries. 3, also the high tomorrow in Montreal with partly cloudy skies. As we get over into Atlantic Canada, some storm warnings in certain parts, not so much for Fredericton. We are looking at a 30% chance of flurries or showers tomorrow, high of 4 degrees, high of 5 in Halifax tomorrow. Charlottetown, okay, we're looking at a snowfall warning this evening, so we could see 15 centimeters tonight and another 2 centimeters tomorrow, high of 2 degrees tomorrow. -2 the high tomorrow in St. John's. St. John's also a winter storm warning is in effect there. Could see 15 centimeters of snow, up to 80 winds, and then tomorrow, Friday, we're looking at snow and blowing snow. So there you go. That's your forecast.
Today's weather report is brought to you by Ridge Utilities, providing competitive rates for electricity, natural gas, and internet, while investing back in communities across southern Alberta.
Zellers marked its official comeback on Thursday as dozens of stores were opened within the Bay department stores in both Alberta and Ontario. The discount chain also launched a new website amid a wave of nostalgia for the brand, and high inflation of over 5% spurred demand for discounted goods. It plans to open 25 more stores featuring an assortment of private label products including clothing, toys, home and living items. The relaunch of Zellers, which includes locations in Medicine Hat and Calgary, comes 10 years after the chain closed most locations. Well, it appears as though the cookie will be crumbling in Canada. Utah-based Crumble Cookie says it will be opening up a store in Edmonton on March 31st, followed by several more in our country later this year. Company officials say they chose to expand it to Canada because its chief executive and co-founder, Jason McGowan, was born right here in Lethbridge, and he felt Canada was the obvious choice. The expansion was announced a day after U.S. fast food chain Shake Shack revealed plans to open in Canada next year. A federal source says next week's federal budget will detail how the Trudeau government plans to go after hidden or unexpected consumer fees. Often referred to as junk fees, they can include those tacked onto the initial price of a product or service that hide and inflate the total cost. Government officials say they plan to work with regulatory agencies, provinces, and territories to cut down on such fees. The agencies would include the Competition Bureau, the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, and the CRTC. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland says the budget will include targeted inflation relief to help make life a little more affordable for Canadians. Now, here's a look at today's markets. The TSX was down 72 points on the day to finish at 19,459. The Dow was up 75 points to 32,105. The S&P 500 was up 11 points on the day to 3948, and the Nasdaq was up 117 points to 11,787. West Texas Intermediate Oil was down $1.44 to $69.46 US per barrel. Natural gas was down 2 cents to $2.15 US. Gold was up 4 cents to $19.9336 US an ounce, and silver was up 8 cents to $23.07 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $11.16 per bushel, barley's at $8.93, canola's at $16.30, and corn is at $10.54 per bushel. Live cattle April contract was down 15 cents to $161.85. Feeder cattle March contract was up 78 cents to $189.03, and lean hogs April contract was down 33 cents to $75.75. The Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours to $72.92 US. Recapping one of our top stories, Federal Health Minister Jean-Yves Duclos says Ottawa will commit to spending up to $1.5 billion over the next 3 years to improve access to drugs used to treat rare diseases. According to the Canadian Organization for Rare Diseases affects 1 in 12 Canadians, with 2/3 of them being children. You know, many Canadians would say that celebrating creativity is the key to living a happier and healthier life. Suzanne Lent, Executive Director of the Allied Arts Council here in Lethbridge, says art is a great way to unite a community. She will explain in more detail in just a moment. If you see news happening in your community, be sure to drop us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. We'd love to hear from you.
Here's today's Bridge City News community calendar. The Lethbridge Senior Citizens Organization is looking for volunteers to take part in their Drive Happiness program. This program is to help seniors in our community who are facing extreme loneliness due to lack of accessible transportation. Volunteers drive clients to their medical appointments, pick up groceries, and take them to important life activities. If you're interested in this opportunity and for more information, visit lethseniors.com/volunteer drivers. Lethbridge Legal Guidance is a nonprofit society offering free legal advice to low-income Southern Albertans. It holds clinics on Tuesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. by appointment only. Some of the areas the society assists in include family, criminal, traffic, immigration, EI, and other issues. For more information, call 403-380-6338 or visit their website, lethbridgelegalguidance.ca. And that's today's Bridge City News community calendar.
When we think about Southern Alberta, most of us think agriculture, so you might not expect to find a diverse cultural scene here, but in fact, many arts events from gallery exhibitions to festivals to concerts to theater performances and even dance recitals are thriving in the area, thanks in part to the efforts of the Allied Arts Council. But what exactly is the Arts Council and what does it do? Well, we're going to find out. I'm joined today by Executive Director Suzanne Lint. Suzanne, welcome to Bridge City News. Great to have you on today.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, Suzanne, the arts have a strong influence across the silos and segments of any community. So can you maybe share with us some of the highlights that the Allied Arts Council has brought to the community of Lethbridge?
Yeah, so the Allied Arts Council has been in the city of Lethbridge since 1958. So it was established a long time ago by a group of arts enthusiasts, people who were really interested in ensuring that there was always a vibrant arts ecosystem in the community. They came out of a really strong historical background in the arts. Just to throw out an example is the Playgoers of Lethbridge, one of the oldest amateur theatre companies in Canada, original member of the Allied Arts Council, are celebrating the 100th anniversary this year. So there is a really rich history of arts in our community going back to when we weren't a community, right, at the turn of the 19th century. The Allied Arts Council was established by these folks who really wanted to ensure that the community had opportunity for arts experiences. They were very interested in seeing some funds that have been bequested by the Yates family go to the building of an art auditorium, a performing arts auditorium. So that was one of their impetuses, but just a real dedication to having a strong supported arts community here in Lethbridge. Over the years, I think we've stayed really true to that mission. Our mission is still to advance and enhance the arts in Lethbridge, to provide leadership for that. So everything we do is about making Lethbridge a better place because the artists and arts organizations are supported.
Sounds like it. So what are some of the highlights maybe over the years?
Oh, many highlights and many sort of moments in history. Going back to when the Yates Memorial, they were successful in having that facility built. The council advocated and were able to enter the Bowman Arts Center, which was owned by the city in the mid-60s, and took on and created a home for arts activities in the community back in the mid-60s. That facility served the community very well until the mid-2000s. Early in 2000, the council sort of reinvented itself, and by 2005-ish, we were living on 7th Street in a storefront. We had disassociated a little bit from the Bowman and broadened our community support activities, but we also were working very hard on projects to establish and ensure that the arts were well ingrained in the community. So the board launched an arts rebuilding campaign back in early 2000, which the result is some work done to the SAG improvements, the establishment of a public art program in Lethbridge, and you began to see public artwork being built in various areas or installed in various areas, and also the building of CASA, which is like a huge hub and creative center for the arts, not only in Lethbridge, but really for the region, the entire region.
Yeah, definitely. I think anybody who lives in the area is very familiar with the CASA, with Yates Theatre. I know I love the Yates, and then of course SAG, the Southern Alberta Arts Gallery. So for sure. And Suzanne, we seem to live in polarizing times. So maybe can you talk about how the arts can be used to bring people together?
Yeah, I think that, we all enjoy the arts more than we know. I always say that we all have some creativity. We all pick the color of the paint on our walls, and we all sing in the shower and movement. You see little kids as soon as they can stand bouncing rhythmically to music. I think creativity is intrinsic in human beings. So whether we identify that creativity with sort of the traditional fine arts, it is really all-encompassing. And I think they are a bridge. They're a bridge between people, because all cultures experience art. They're just so intrinsic to who we are. And unfortunately, I think a lot of times we don't recognize their value and the power they have on us. And the power they have to do good things in community.
Yeah, so true. Exactly. You mentioned, of course, the CASA building, and that was built about 10 years ago. In fact, I think it's coming up on its 10-year anniversary.
Big anniversary.
This spring, I believe, in May. So it's become a landmark, as you mentioned, in Lethbridge's downtown core. So maybe can you share with us how this building continues to benefit the residents of the city? Some people might not know, really.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing because lots of people say, oh, nobody goes there, which is really not true. And it's a much envied building. When we have visitors who come into the building from away, they sort of go, wow, how did this happen? Because it is really a purpose-built facility for arts creation, for people of all ages, interests, and abilities, which is a pretty unique thing. So there are all disciplines in the building. It isn't a performing arts center. It is really about that grassroots creation of artwork or learning experiences. There's certainly opportunities for audiences to come in to experience the arts, but it is a place to create art. And it is very unique. It's affordable. It's open, it's welcoming, and really it has visual arts, it has a dance studio, it has a strong music program that's delivered by the University of Lethbridge Conservatory. There's a black box theater for workshopping work. There is a gallery, exhibition spaces where local regional artists can share their work with the larger community. So it is really quite an astounding building. It is extremely busy, and it is coming up on May 13th. We'll be hosting the 10-year celebration of CASA. We're really excited to open the building. It'll be open that day for free workshops, tours, probably a little bit of cake to celebrate, and then wrapping up in the evening with hopefully an outdoor concert, if weather permitting, otherwise indoor concert with Oscar Lopez, who was the inaugural concert performer at CASA back in 2013. So we're really delighted with the lineup of events that people are going to be able to come in. And it is really an open and welcoming place, like I say, for people of all ages, all abilities to come and try art, or just to come and look at art and experience it.
Sounds like there's going to be a lot going on for sure. So for new residents of Lethbridge, can you maybe describe what's available to them at CASA?
Yeah, so I think there are multiple things. There's certainly structured classes. So if you're interested in doing art training at sort of in any discipline. Like I said, the conservatory offers music. There's clay classes. The Weaving Guild offers weaving classes, textiles, painting, drawing. There's really a strong program of classes available. There is a main gallery exhibition space that has art exhibitions that rotate on about 8-week cycle, plus many spaces within the building. There are meeting rooms that if you need to have a meeting, you're able to rent. The community room, Friday recitals, all kinds of recitals and programs that are put on by the various arts organizations and groups within the community happening all the time. So there is a lot, either as like I say, a participant, or as an audience member. Check the website for those opportunities. There's a lot. We also, I think, offer a number of programs that are more targeted and specific that we are very proud of. We have an AMAPA program, which is a program that's offered for ability. It's an arts ability program for the community that was started in the Bowman many years ago, that supports people who are experiencing various challenges to come in and do art within the facility. We run a program called RAW that also came over from Bowman days, which is for people who are facing life challenges, maybe perhaps transitioning into new housing or out of homelessness. So a free access program for those folks. An artist residency program for artists who are developing their careers to come into the building and be able to create work in our studios, our art studios, free of charge to develop projects, and in exchange give back workshops or talks, community access programming. So there's a lot that goes on in that building.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. You would never know that. So, with spring is here now, so with April and summer quickly approaching, what events can people look forward to this spring and summer? And I believe you have a Making It Big in Lethbridge theme for this summer as well.
So one of the gallery projects that happens is called the Summer Salon. So it's a different theme every year. We've established, the curator, Darcy Logan, established that program a number of years ago. So the salon is really an uncurated opportunity for artists to submit around a theme, and as many of the works as we can possibly exhibit go up. And so this summer, the theme is Making It Big, and making it big means things that are different to different artists. So there are artists who work large, typically, so we're pushing them to work bigger. But for someone who's used to painting, a 4x6, or a photographer who does 4x6, pushing them to move beyond the normal parameters of their arts practice and try creating a little larger, a little bigger than they normally would. So that's a really exciting initiative. The other successful program that we're running for, I believe, the third season is our Upside Downtown concert series. The series started during COVID, as we were coming out of COVID, as an outdoor concert to give opportunity to the community, free concerts with local musicians. Thursday night, it's sort of an after work opportunity, 5 to 7, come to the plaza at Rotary Square and enjoy some free music. Great initiative that's been growing. Our audiences have been growing. And this year, we're just in the process of completing a large program grant that we received to do shade sales. So it's going to be little shaded and a little cooler, hopefully. A big project that was supported by Prairies Can and the Community Foundation that we're really pleased to sort of activate that Rotary Square. So that will be going on through the months of July and August, and then going into September, the Alberta Month of the Artist and Arts Days and all of those wonderful things, which are really activities that we coordinate out of our 7th Street Arts Leadership Office as the Allied Arts Council.
Wow. Well, I know that the AAC also includes developing local artist talent, and we're almost out of time, but really quickly, I understand that there are some scholarships and awards that are available, and maybe talk about what they are and how can people nominate an artist in their life for an award or a scholarship?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. We're coming into that award season. So I think we're like 15 years ago, we established the Mayor's Luncheon for Business in the Arts, which is an opportunity to acknowledge how important it is that business supports, the civic government supports, and the arts community supports and work together to create that strong ecosystem. And as part of that event, which is held in September, we do award to artists, and the nominations close, I believe, at the end of May. There's information on our website under the artist opportunities. There's a link called Awards and Scholarships, but we award to individuals, businesses, and organizations that philanthropically contribute either through volunteerism or through funding to the arts. Those are general community members that make the arts a great thing in our community, support the artists and the arts organization. We also have awards for young and emerging artists, which are scholarship based to help them on their way, and a very important peer recognition award, the Joan Waterfield Memorial Award, which is about those artists in our community and arts administrators and the arts builders, one of whom was Joan Waterfield, huge in the theater world, who contribute and ensure that Lethbridge really continues to be the dynamic arts center that it really is. The sort of unknown secret. We are a thriving, strong arts community.
Absolutely, we are. No question, absolutely. We're out of time, but Suzanne, thanks so much for your time today. It was great to chat with you about the Allied Arts Council.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, that was Allied Arts Council's Executive Director, Suzanne Lind.
You know, over the last few years, we've seen a lot of challenges and people have really struggled, especially coming out of the pandemic. You add inflation into the mix, and it makes things even worse. Many of our young people are having a tough time dealing with depression and anxiety right now. So how, as parents, can we really help our kids be more confident and resilient? Today's guest may have some suggestions for us. Dr. Kathy Cook is a child development specialist and president of Celebrate Kids, Inc. Her latest book is called Resilient Kids, Raising Them to Embrace Life with Confidence. And she joins us now from Texas. Kathy, welcome to Bridge City News.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. So Kathy, what really motivated you to write Resilient Kids?
Well, your introduction was really appropriate. During the COVID pandemic crisis, I saw too many kids defining themselves by loss, not by what they had, not by their strengths and their victories, but what they did not have. And that's not appropriate. I wanted to make sure that parents knew that they could help their kids stand back up and walk out of the negative circumstances that they found themselves in. It's so important.
So how has the pandemic really impacted our younger generation? Maybe we can begin with the fact that a lot of the kids were isolated from their friends and their classmates.
Right, and that's not how we're designed, right? We're designed for community, we're designed for fellowship. So they weren't aware of that. And a lot of us are the type of people who learn well with other people. We love to brainstorm and network and have those kind of sidebar conversations, even in the hallway and at lunch. And you took all of that away. And they were faced to do what we're doing here, looking into a camera, and it's just not ideal. So kids began to doubt their ability. They began to doubt their future, I think. And now depression, suicidal thoughts, that was all there prior to the pandemic, but it was amplified certainly during this crisis moment.
I guess when people are isolated, they don't have that interaction, that human connection with people. We can actually physically touch that individual, give your best friend a hug. That makes it that much more of a challenge. So, Kathy, how would you really define resiliency, and why is it so important for kids today?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I define it as readily recovering from difficulty, readily recovering, not staying down in the valley, not having a long-lasting pity party, but choosing to stand up and walk out of the defeat and the despair and the difficulty, running from a bully, knowing that that bully doesn't define me. So readily recovering, it starts as a choice, becomes a learned ability the more often we do it, and then it becomes a part of our character. And that's so critical, because then even when mom and dad aren't around to encourage me, I know that I can stand up and walk out and become the whole person that I was designed to be. Critically important. Without resiliency, we don't learn, we don't take risks, we don't grow, we don't develop a deep faith and a really good character.
So how can children best understand the real difference between failure and a mistake, and maybe learn, especially from their mistakes?
Yeah, it's so valuable, isn't it? We have to talk about it. They're not going to learn that unless we demonstrate it. So moms and dads and teachers and pastors and people like us who are out in the community, we need to understand that we're not perfect, and we need to let our kids see that we're not perfect so that they can admit to us that they're not perfect. Kids tell me all the time that if they think their mom and dad are perfect human beings, then they have a hard time admitting to their mom and dad that they're not. So let's do age appropriate, developmentally appropriate admission of failure and mistakes. I forgot to turn in a report to my supervisor. He's not happy with me. I'm going to have to earn back his trust because I made a mistake, and I'm unhappy. So I prayed about it and I apologize, and I'm going to get better at that time management factor. So we can talk to our kids about that. One of the things that's really valuable is to talk with our kids about words like mistakes and failure. Too many kids think that mistakes mean that they're stupid and failure means that they're bad. You and I know that's not the truth. Mistakes mean that we maybe haven't had enough experience, we haven't practiced enough, maybe we didn't study enough, but we're not stupid. And if we fail, I don't even like that word. It's not that we're bad. We have to talk about it. Define it in your home. In our home, this is what we mean by those words.
You know, it's a real challenge as well. I'm a parent too. I've got 2 kids, and it was really tough, especially when they were younger. When you see them going down a path, it's going to lead to destruction, because you went down the same path yourself. You made the same mistakes. I don't want my kids making the same mistakes that I did, but sometimes as a parent, you got to let go and let God.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Put them in God's care. Provide the boundaries that you can, but you know what? Kids have to learn on their own that foolishness results in consequences that are uncomfortable. If we overprotect our kids and we helicopter and we're a drone, looking over them and making sure they don't ever make a mistake, then they're not going to be strong. They'll be weak, and they'll come running to us every time they're in trouble. And I doubt that that's what parents want.
So you want to really develop character within your children, I guess, so they can respond to some of the hardships in the world a little more appropriately.
Absolutely. Don't bubble wrap them, save the bubble wrap for your grandmother's, beautiful vase, if you will. But let your kids know, hey, I'm here for you. I'm protecting and guiding and providing for you. If you choose to do that, there will be a consequence, and then I'll help you talk that through at the end.
Now, Kathy, you write that there are actually 5 core things a child needs to really build resiliency. What would they be?
Oh, super. Security. Who can I trust? If they don't trust us, they won't take risks, and then they won't learn. So are we honest, and are we there for them? Identity. Who am I? I'm bright and creative and careful and diligent. Your kids need to know their strengths so that they can rely on themselves in those challenging moments. Belonging. Who wants me? They have to have relationship skills and friendship skills. And they have to understand who to walk away from that's not good for them, and who to walk toward who would be a blessing. So security, identity, belonging leads to purpose. Why am I alive? When kids know that they were created on purpose with purpose, they will develop their strengths, and they will see that a challenge or a mistake is something they can overcome because there's a bigger picture to life. And I was created to be a someone and to do something valuable. So I need to step up and become that. And then we get to competence. What do I do well? Everybody's created on purpose with good gifts that they can use to be a blessing to others. So we need to help them see their beauty and see their strength, which is wrapped up in their purpose, so that they'll be willing to overcome the challenge, bounce back, and become who they were created to be.
So how can parents really have healthy and honest conversations with their children concerning their needs?
Yeah, be available, first of all, my friend. Be available. Put your phone down. Prioritize your kids as is appropriate. Not that they're the center of your universe, but that they matter to you. Let them know that. Feel their pain first. Kids tell me all the time that we are unsafe to them if we problem solve too quickly. So you develop resiliency when you feel their pain. Bethany, I'm sad with you. I'm so sorry that happened. Jeremiah, that must have been a scary thing. Man, I'm sad for you. Feel their pain, acknowledge that it was difficult for them, and then help them solve the problem. Help them figure out what they can do next. Don't necessarily do it for them, but problem solve, talk to them, brainstorm with them, make a list maybe of 3 or 4 things they can do differently in the next 2 or 3 days. So be available. Talk in the dark. Also, just a quick recommendation, talk in the dark. Kids tell me they don't want to look into our faces when they know that we're going to be disappointed. They don't want to see the pain in our eyes. So sometimes they'll be more vulnerable in a dark space, all alone, without the siblings around.
So you believe that parents must really pay attention to what children believe about their mistakes and failures, and maybe as parents, try to encourage our kids not to let the lows get too low.
Yeah, come on. So true. It's, you know, it's a season, right? They come and they go. So share how you walked out of your valleys. Share that maybe you distanced yourself from a person who was a negative naysayer, and you knew that you had value, and you knew that that person was not good for you because he said, you'll never amount to that. Who do you think you are to achieve that? No, you distance yourself from people who are not healthy for you. You stop going to the places that are not life affirming for you. You stop listening to music and watching the shows that bring you down into the valley, and you make sure that you know you're a person of worth who's worthy of blessing. And so you step out into that reality.
Now, many people, Kathy, would argue that spiritual resilience might be the most important resilience of all. How can we as parents be assured that our kids don't give up on God, but learn to trust Him more and really mature in their own faith?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I wish that we could assure it, right? I wish that we could have these perfect little boundaries and put kids in a box and they'll never doubt, because that's not possible. But there are some things we can do, and I'm glad you asked. I do think it's critically important that we talk about the relationship with Jesus is what drives us to our behavior. We worship, we read and meditate on the Word of God, we pray, we serve, we give, we attend church, because we're in a relationship with our best friend. We love God, the creator of it all, the author of the life letter, love letter, the Bible. We love His Son, Jesus, for all that He's done for us. So I don't pray to check it off my list. I don't read the Bible every morning so I feel like a good girl. I read it because it's a life letter, love letter that's going to build me up and offer me opportunity to walk on the right path. When you teach your children that we do what we do because of who we are and because it changes who we are, then they take that with them. And it's not a church that they go to, but it's a behavior that becomes a part of who they are. Also, very quickly, the names of God and the names of Christ are really important. Our kids need to know the whole of God. If they only know one little thing about God and one little name of Christ, and they feel like that part failed them, then they give up. So make sure your kids know all about God and Jesus as much as possible.
So what's your suggestion to parents whose children may be influenced by others with different beliefs?
Well, first of all, praise God that you know that. So if you know that I'm really proud of you, because that means you're paying attention, and that's really cool. Many teenagers will begin to look for other voices because they want to know if other people agree with you. Is my dad the only one who thinks that church is essential? So don't be afraid if they start to look for other voices, but certainly teach them discernment and be aware. Why would you talk to your soccer coach? Well, first of all, why would you allow your kid to play soccer with a coach that doesn't have a biblical worldview? That's a whole nother speech, whole nother presentation we could talk about. But know who your kids are listening to, know the lyrics of the songs that they're listening to, the people who they're hanging out with. Don't be alarmed, teach them discernment and say, hey, why do you believe your coach is right? You know, convince me your coach is right when your mom and I are raising you in these ways. Have discussion, have dialogue, have conversation.
Why do you think it is, I find this kind of odd as well as a parent, that sometimes a stranger or a new friend has more of an influence on our children than we do? You know, our children may be suffering from low self-esteem, and I as a father will say to my daughter, you know what, you're beautiful and you're smart, you know, you're going to go quite far in this life. And she's like, I don't believe it from my dad. But then somebody she just met said, you know, you're beautiful and smart from what I got to know. And they believe that person over their own father. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's frustrating, right? You know, kids tell me, you know, our dad has to say that. He's our dad. He has to. He doesn't have a choice. He has to believe good things. So they're looking for affirmation. They're looking for, is my dad right? Can I really believe him? I would also say that moms and dads, we can get better at giving them the proof. You're going to amount to a lot because you're a diligent young lady. I see that you're careful and that you care about details, and your nonfiction writing is accurate. You proofread, you make sure your resources are right. I wonder if you could follow in my footsteps and be a journalist. A lot of kids doubt because the voices are loud from the other side. So provide the proof that you're right, specifically compliment and specifically correct, and they'll keep coming to you for insight. They do want to believe their parents. They really do.
So show some examples, absolutely. Now, Kathy, you had an amazing opportunity to observe a newborn giraffe when you were in Africa recently. Now, how did this really reinforce your beliefs about letting children struggle to learn what they need rather than, like you mentioned earlier, bubble protect or bubble wrap our kids?
Right. Oh, it was so much fun. I was in Nigeria, Africa, and about 10 minutes after the baby was born, we were there. The mother was huge and standing over the baby and attentive, and every time we clicked a camera, she would pop her head over in our direction. She was so aware of what the baby was doing. And the baby was down on the ground, camouflaged, trying desperately to raise its neck. It would raise it and would flop back down like a piece of spaghetti. It was so amazing to watch this. But you know what was so interesting? The mom never helped except to lick a little bit of the fluid off the baby. The mother's neck would come down and lick and almost caress with the tongue. That mother could have taken its big head, put it under the baby and lifted it to its feet. But that mom knew that baby needed to learn on its own how to stand up and how to keep standing. If the baby wouldn't have done it on its own, its muscles never would have been strong enough to hold the weight of itself up. So we have to watch and protect and guide and be available and be present and let our kids know, hey, I'm on your side. I'm here to guide and protect and provide, but I'm not going to do everything for you because you need to learn for yourself how to make it happen. Yeah, it was a profound example of the ideal relationship.
I can just imagine. Now, you mentioned guide, protect, provide, but also being optimistic. You know, I think it's really important to share with our kids, you know, a sense of optimism. How important is that as they develop?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I was actually stunned when I did my research at how very important it is. I've always known that. I think believers need to be optimistic. I think there's a lot of reasons to be hopeful and optimistic as we look at today, tomorrow, and the far distant future. So is your glass half full? One of the resources I read, I love this. Doesn't really matter how full your glass is, just have a pitcher nearby. Like, are you the resource? Are you going to be able to fill your kids up? So to be full of hope, to look for what's right, to have a solution-focused mind, not a problem-centered orientation. It's a key. Your kids want to know if they come to you with a heartache, that you will love them in their moment of defeat and help them when they're ready to listen to your solutions. Yeah. To be optimistic and hopeful. It's essential. It's not easy. The world's a mess, but we can speak life into the mess and be part of the difference making.
Amen to that. You know, and I think about with God too, how he loves us unconditionally. That's what we should do with our children as well.
Amen.
Dr. Kathy Cook is the president of Celebrate Kids, Inc. and author of Resilient Kids, Raising Them to Embrace Life with Confidence. Kathy, thanks so much for joining us today from Texas.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, I'm Hal Roberts. God bless and thanks for watching.